Happy Thursday, everybody. Good evening and welcome to another edition of Reasonable Doubt, brought to you by the Harris County Criminal Lawyers Association. I'm your host, Jimmy Ardwan. I'm back here with my co-host, Julio Vela. We have no guests tonight, Julio, except we pulled our producer out.
There it is.
We pulled our producer out. Justin Harris, what's going on, my friend?
Not much. It's a
You
big
had
week.
the honor of sitting in this seat a couple weeks ago.
An honor, yeah. I think I actually wore the same suit that day.
Did you?
I'm on a 2-week rotation, apparently.
You seemed to text message me and think you lost about 10 pounds during the course of that show.
I sweated it out.
Was that a good weight loss program for you?
Yeah. I don't know how you guys do this every single week. I'm very impressed. Like, y'all turn it on like that. You can come in here after a long day in trial or whatever it is, and you just flip that switch. I'm very impressed.
Well, I appreciate that. We do our best for the people at home. It was election week.
It was election week, and the Rockets are on a roll.
Dude.
Hey.
And the Longhorns think they are the Rockets, jacking up like 30 three-pointers during a game.
I agree.
Setting aside our sports proclivities, which we may interject every now and then, because what the heck, we can do what we want, right? But we'll be here for the next hour. We're going to discuss the election results from Thursday night. We'll also talk about probably Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday. What am I saying?
It's Thursday.
Tonight's
tonight.
Thursday.
Yeah.
It's Tuesday. See, that's why you're here to correct me.
Sorry.
You're helping me.
My voice in over the mic.
That's right. We'll talk about some other criminal justice issues. We'll weave those into the program as we always do, but we'll have the phone lines up. 713-807-1794 is the number. You can also tweet us at HCCLA_TV. So, guys, we had the primaries this week. Huge turnout for the Democrats. I think they had, 3 or 4 times as many people show up this time and vote as they did back in the last midterm election.
Right.
I didn't see the statistics for the presidential election, what the turnout was, but I just saw that for the midterms, they had 3 or 4 times as many show up for the Democrats this year.
Well, I think they prefer the terms 300 or 400% increase.
Yeah, right.
3 or 4 times doesn't sound as impressive. But yeah,
it's all on how you present it, right?
Right. 300%. 3 or 4. Oh, yeah, that's right, 300%. Yeah. Now I see what they're doing with those numbers.
Yeah.
The Republicans still, okay, so Democrats finally decided to show up to the polls. Okay, cool. But the Republicans put up some good numbers.
Mm-hmm. They also increased. They were up by 20%, I think. Mm-hmm. So, the question is, what's going to happen come November? Are the Republicans able to get more people out when they see what happened in the primaries? I mean, that's the real question here. And look, I'm not an election expert. I'm by no means some political science major, but I do find it fascinating what's happening here, and you wonder what the response will be. Will it be that the Republicans see, Democrats are going to turn out for this election. We need to get our people to come out and vote, and that very well might happen.
The rumor is that the Republicans in a red state think that they got this on lock, and they showed up in good force, as they always have, but that they don't have to worry about these primaries, and November is the real day. And so I was listening to a story on NPR that said, from a leading Republican analyst, that said, hey, look, Republicans they're not sleeping, but they have a big ego, so to say. The state is red, and it's good that the Dems turned out strong, but the Republicans are waiting for the big dance, and that's when they're going to show up.
And that very well may be true. I mean, I think a lot of people, from the Republican side feel that they don't necessarily have to show up because you've got those who are obviously invested into the system that are going to show up every year, and we'll show up when we need to, kind of thing. Look, there's going to be. It's not just there's so many issues right now. I mean, you have Trump, you have the NRA debate, you have so many things going on, and I wonder what November is going to look like in terms of the numbers.
Well, that's what we saw. Ted Cruz came out on Monday, and he gave that interview in Dallas or wherever it was, and he said he's remember what the term was. He says he was seriously worried about the blue wave sweeping across Texas. And I was talking to some people about that, and they were like, "Oh, Ted Cruz is scared." It's like, no, Ted Cruz is a very smart politician. He's not scared. He's saying that as a message to the Republicans: get out and vote. And there's too many of my friends who are Democrats who are saying, "Oh, it's a lock for the Dems in Texas in November, or at least in Harris County." And I keep saying the problem is if Democrats keep thinking that, they'll just stay home, and the Republicans will heed Ted Cruz's fears. That's what it was. He was really afraid, very fearful, and that's what's going to happen. So we have a long way to go before November, but people got to continue any momentum that they have.
It's true. I mean, I think it sets up for an interesting, November because, someone like, and I'll just use myself as an example. I mean, for a number of years, I voted Republican, okay? And then I started more voting Republican on a national level and Democrat on a local level, and more, I would say. I would vote the person. I was always one of those who would vote the person. So I would say I started getting a mix more locally of Democrat and Republican, and maybe some years there'd be a few more Democrats that I'd vote for, or maybe some years there'd be a few more Republicans, rather than voting straight ticket. This is the last year of straight ticket voting here. So I wonder if that's also going to encourage more people to come out, and that's going to be the interesting thing, because someone like myself, I would prefer to see a third party, a viable third party to vote for, because I really don't think...
Or a fourth or a fifth or a
right,
sixth.
because I honestly don't think that either of the parties addresses, what I feel is appropriate in certain circumstances. I mean, I'm a big, as you guys know, I'm a little bit of a gun nut, okay?
You started to say big, then you shifted that down to a little bit.
Yeah, well, it's just I'm
a big of a little gun nut.
Right, yeah. But so I don't want people coming after my guns. Not gonna lie. But at the same token, I think there are measures of gun control that we can do to help make the system better. I also, but I just don't think I can go all the way with a lot of the Democrats' platforms. I mean, there's just some things that I'm not willing to go there on, and and that's going to be the interesting thing. It's like, if you want to register everybody's guns and have control there, but you want unfettered immigration, those two don't seem to make a lot of sense to me. I mean, I'm all for some sort of regulation, but we need to come to the middle and compromise on things. I don't think people should be precluded from entering this country, as the far right thinks. And nor do I think you should be able to come out and just take everyone's guns away in a massive buyback program. So, that's the problem, is we've gone to two polar sides here, and everybody's kind of in their corners, all just huddling up, ready for November kind of thing.
Well, I mean, I agree. I think you covered a whole lot of things right there.
Right.
The polarization is an issue, and there are ways that I think we can get back away from that. I hope there are, because if not, if it just keeps going the way that it is, then we're going to just literally have two countries than we have now, and half people are going to move to one half, and the other half are going to move to the other half. But I want to ask you specifically, the only example you gave that you can't get behind on gun control, which is the issue that you brought up, is you said a massive buyback program where everyone has to turn in their guns. And those are two separate things. Buyback programs are voluntary.
No, not the way it was done.
In Australia?
No. Yeah. It was the buyback programs, or they're couched as buyback programs, but there was, when the assault rifles ban was instituted the first time, it was a buyback that was, look, we're coming to buy your guns back, but you have to turn them over. We're setting the price and we're giving them back, but it's because they knew who everybody who had one of these assault rifles, because it was registered. Right.
So, is anybody pushing that right now?
There's a bill. The Democrats have introduced a bill.
And you, well, I don't know if you want to say, but you own assault rifles?
Oh, yeah. Multiple.
And why do you need multiple assault rifles, Jim?
Zombie apocalypse?
Right,
Yeah, but okay, the zombie apocalypse, you don't need more guns, you need more bullets. You need one gun.
I agree.
And you need bullets.
What
I watched Walking Dead, and their problem was not I can't find a gun and I have all these bullets. It's always I'm out of bullets.
What if
Zombie.
I'm at Jimmy's house and I don't have a gun.
I know.
It's
I
zombie
need
apocalypse.
one to give my buddy
And it
Julio.
Yeah.
starts.
Yeah. What am I gonna do?
Well, hopefully you've got your
Nothing.
concealed or your open carry license, and so you're already packing when you go to Jimmy's
Concealed ain't
house.
gonna do any good against the zombies, dude. Come on.
An assault rifle.
That's right.
Okay, so if we
Take 'em out.
want to talk seriously about these things, I can't see a situation, unless you're somebody who wants to mow down as many people as you possibly can, why anybody needs to have an assault rifle for self-defense.
When the government takes over, bruh.
See, well,
I'm a straight dim.
Okay.
I'm a dim, but
I get
like,
that. I get that kind of stuff, and I understand. I've seen Mark Bennett and some other people put some things out there that give me pause, and I understand. I understand both sides of the debate, but what I don't understand is why we need to have this one certain type or class of gun, and if we don't have that, we're not going to be able to fully defend ourselves.
Well, what's your problem with it? What is your problem with an assault rifle versus a regular hunting rifle?
and the hunting rifle, I saw
thing,
I saw a
they're-
video. The hunting rifle's bullets bigger than the assault rifle's.
That's right.
They are. Yeah.
I mean, my Remington 700, I actually have a bigger caliber. For that, it's chambered for a larger caliber than my AR.
and what kind of action does it take? Is it?
Huh?
Is it a bolt action?
It's a bolt action, but with a magazine.
So you gotta chamber the round every
Right.
time.
But I also have hunting rifles that don't have the bolt action.
That take a 308?
Yeah.
I don't know. Obviously, I'm not a big small or
Well, but see, that's
or large gun nut.
But see, that's the problem is that the people who are advocating so hard against it, they really don't understand what they're trying to ban.
Well, okay, that's fair. That's fair. But I will say that if I could have the stuff in front of me, not necessarily the weapon, but the legislation in front of me, I could give you a better assessment of it. But I think the bottom line comes down to is that we need to have something that makes sense.
No, I agree.
If you can go, if I could just sell you any gun I want without any kind of regulation, and I don't want more government intrusion in our lives.
No, but that's the thing.
Whatever
that
my
people-
politics are.
But people don't understand. Like, I had to point this out to somebody the other day. I'm involved in a civil case where there's been a receiver appointed and they're trying to liquidate my client's assets, okay? And part of that is he had a very large gun collection that they were trying to auction off. And I told the receiver, because they were just gonna come in, I said, no. Here, I want you guys to catalog everything. I want you to take the registration number. You can't just go sell this stuff. Because when you go auction it off, guess what? The gun is still registered to my client's name. When you sell it at auction, you need to do the proper transfer paperwork to transfer it out of my client's name and into whoever buys it. Because if something ever happens with that, guess who it's coming back on?
The
It's
registered
coming
owner.
back on the registered owner, which if you don't do the proper paperwork, it's coming back on my client. This is a lawyer, a partner at a very large law firm in Dallas, had no clue. He didn't even know. He was like, "Oh my God, I didn't even know that," you know, and he didn't even realize that there is a regulatory process by which you have to transfer a gun. You know, and even in a situation where somebody comes in by legal process and takes somebody's guns and is selling them pursuant to a valid court order, they are now responsible for transferring all those from the registered owner to the new owner.
And I get that, but I'm talking more. I guess I'm strictly talking about background checks.
Right.
And
All in favor of that.
just check a driver's license at least, something. Check ages,
Well, and
something.
that happens. I mean, in order
In
to
some
sell-
places it does, but not if I meet you in a parking lot and I'm
no,
selling you.
but you're
my
never
gun.
never going to. How are you going to regulate that? You're never going to be able to. My concern.
Well, wait.
is-
That doesn't mean that we shouldn't make it against the law.
I don't just.
Okay.
It already is against the law.
To sell that way without doing the transfer paperwork,
Correct.
or without doing a background check on somebody.
Yeah.
Or in a gun show, I
But
think.
gun show loopholes are basically that. They're just instead of in a parking lot, they're in the convention center.
I've never been to a gun show where I didn't have my background checked.
And you bought guns there?
Yeah,
They check them.
they check them.
In Texas?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't want to debate something that I'm ignorant of. 'cause
I've
that's
never
not gonna
bought
go
a
well.
gun in my life.
I mean, look.
I've never
Look, and
bought a
here's
gun.
but here's the crazy thing. I have
But they're
4
always-
guns. I have 4 guns. I didn't buy a single one of them.
Well, no, because-
the people who bought them and gave them to me are dead. I don't know if there's registration paperwork.
Right.
One of them is a police officer's former service weapon. It was my uncle's
Right.
service weapon. It ended up in my dad.
Look, I inherited a bunch of. I just got my great grandfather's Remington double barrel shotgun from the 1890s.
Nice.
The
I
other
Wow.
day. Yeah.
think that falls into an exception.
Yeah, but I mean,
That's
that
artwork.
was definitely way before registration. But no, I mean, I think there's a lot of debates like what we're having that I think are going to motivate people on both sides to go out. I think in November you're going to see record numbers of people go out to vote because of debates like this that we're having right here. I mean, you're going to see people on both sides of the issue for whatever their stance is. I think you're going to see a lot of people come out this year.
Well, now Trump's talking about gun regulation and tariffs.
He's all over the place.
Is that
man.
Republican? Is it not Republican?
He's all over the place. I mean, look, I don't know that the Republican Party really had the problem for me is both parties are so disorganized.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the Democrats really don't have a message.
No.
The Republicans, they're cannibalizing their own kind right now. What we saw in the local primaries, you know, they're taking out each other in some of these races. They can't seem to get their act together in Washington and all get on the same page. Neither party. I mean, you'd think with all the problems in the Republican Party right now, that the Democrats would be just able to take full advantage of this. And they can't because they're just as disorganized. They have no message. What's their message? Not Trump.
Well, and that's just what the Republicans were for 8 years during Obama.
Right.
And then when the Republicans came to power, everyone expected them to have a plan in place for all the things, and they hadn't.
No
And
plan.
That's the frustrating thing, is that as someone who generally supports Democrats, I hope to God that someone is behind the scenes saying, once we're back in power, we have a clear way forward. We know what we're going to do, whether it's investigating Trump, having realistic investigations in Congress, if that's even capable in Congress.
No, it's not. Look, I mean, these are the people who investigated baseball players for using steroids. Let's be honest here. Congress and the wackadoos we have up there in Congress right now, that's the kind of crap they do, you know?
Okay.
They want to haul people up there to talk about whether or not you took steroids. I
So-
don't care about that.
Let me take a moment, if I can, and kind of get on my soapbox, because I'm glad that you said that, and I agree with you that we have too many people who anyone can characterize as a wackadoo, who's our representatives in Congress. And that's why I wanted so strongly to have the last series of shows that we had, where we brought candidates on here, people who are running for office. We opened up the phone lines, which it looks like they're open now, so you can call in and tell me more about guns that I don't know if you want to. But we don't have debate and discourse. And debate doesn't have to be ugly. It doesn't mean arguing. Debate means an exchange of ideas with a desire to reach a compromise and flesh out something that's an actual answer. And that's what we need to have more of. And instead, what we have is the Supreme Court telling people, you can have your protest, but you're going to be over here, and then the counter protesters have to apply for a permit, and then they can have their counter protest to your protest over here. And I've been saying for a while, and I don't advocate violence, but I think that we would have a whole lot less of this stuff going on if people were just allowed to mix it up. If there wouldn't, yeah. If someone's racist and they're out in the street and they're saying stuff that's offensive to you and that's racist and is disgusting, they might think about it a little bit more often if someone else's reaction is to punch them in the nose.
Hey, look, you know.
But when they're separated by fences and 100 feet away.
I agree.
That's exactly what they said. I heard a quote some time ago about owning guns. The only reason they didn't, back in the old West, that people didn't insult another person is because the other person would pull out a gun and shoot them.
But look at this. Look at everybody wants to make an issue about all these kids who show up and shoot up schools and everything else. You know, I mean, back in what the hell? Back in my day, which wasn't all that long ago. I mean, granted, it was over 2 decades ago now, but back then when I was in junior high or high school, and there was some kid who was messed up or had some, was goth or whatever the hell he was back then. I mean, nobody worried about them coming and shoot up the school. Okay, you might see that they committed suicide or something like that, which I'm not advocating that that's a better role. But I mean, when did it become I'm going to shoot everybody else and not just take myself out? I mean,
well, back when we were kids, at least me, I spent a lot of those years that you're referring to when the assault weapons ban was in place. And from what I've heard, and I haven't checked any statistics, but I've heard them from like actual news sources, NPR and other places like that, which people might think have their own biases, but whatever. I heard that like during the assault weapons ban, something like 3 million assault rifles were manufactured or sold, and then after the assault rifle, last year, there were like 11 million manufactured and sold in the United States. I also heard the statistic in the same article that 50% or just over 50% of guns, civilian-owned guns in the United States, are owned by 3% of the population.
That's true.
That's hoarding
But
guns for
but see, I'm
either a
talking about-
zombie apocalypse, which I don't know, I don't think sounds very reasonable, or that's someone who has the intent to, if he or she thinks, and most often it's he, and it's a he that looks like me and comes from a background that's like me, if he thinks something bad is going to happen, he is going to use that to kill the people who he thinks are doing something bad.
But the assault weapons ban was from 94 to 2000. I'm talking about it was from 94 to 2004.
That's when I was in junior high and high school.
Okay,
so
we'll
perfect.
see. So I was in junior high and high school pre-ban. But
You are older, that's right.
but Columbine happened during that time.
Uh-huh. Wasn't the assault weapons ban in part response to Columbine, or
No, Columbine was 98.
Oh, it was that, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so it's right in the middle.
But they also
Columbine
didn't
happened.
use-
But that's what I'm saying. In the 80s, we didn't have that crap. We didn't have people going up and go and get dad's 45 and marching through. I mean, they might get the 45 and take themselves out. They didn't come into class and take out other people.
Well-
I mean, but see, that's the problem. Back in the day, we just used to solve stuff out on the hallway. I mean, there was a fight every day in school. People get punched. People get thrown into lockers. People get thrown into the trophy cases. I mean, that stuff happened. Nowadays, I feel like
Trophy cases, like they broke the glass?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a little
Yeah.
that's a little much. But
But I mean, we had people who used to be able to solve problems the old-fashioned way.
And I-
and I tell look, I tell my kid, just don't be the one that gets caught. If somebody comes up to you and starts talking, if they punch you, stand up for yourself.
Yep.
Don't go be a tattletale. And just punch them. Just make sure you're not the last one to get caught, kind of thing. I mean, because the last one just
Yeah.
throw the punch
That's the
usually
thing,
is the one who gets
that's
caught.
why we're all in business.
Well, and,
Right.
now they can have at least a couple sessions ago. They can have juvenile magistrates at the school.
Yeah.
They can actually have court at the school.
Really?
Yeah. And so now we're gonna arm the teachers and arm the guards, and everybody's gonna walk through school. All the kids are gonna walk to school like this, with their hands behind their back. We're gonna have a magistrate somewhere in on-campus suspension, and all the blacks and Mexicans are gonna get screwed.
So you're saying
is that-
so you're saying that the schools are going to look more like 49 St.
They
Jacinto?
look like prisons, man. But I will be the first one to say, you walk into my house at night, I will destroy you.
Yeah.
Like, what am I supposed to do, man? Everyone
not-
else has guns. What am I gonna do?
No one's advocating for you not to be able to defend yourself, okay? But we need to there needs to be something common sense. And we don't need to devolve this into gun control debate, which we can, because that's the whole point of what we're trying to do, is to have public discourse and encourage maybe a phone call or something, so where it's not just us talking to each other. But I don't know.
So the Russians apparently either wanted Trump or Bernie to win, just anyone but Hillary. And so Trump won, and
Apparently, there were a lot of people in the Democratic Party who felt that way too.
yeah.
It's just people in Russia, but
Yeah, I think there were a lot of people here who felt that way. But then, I mean, that's the whole irony, right? Is that they are alleging that Trump colluded with the Russians when clearly the Clintons colluded with somebody to rig the Democratic primary. I mean, it's just both sides are so, I don't know. I mean, that thing's gotten out of control.
Do you see that there's any difference between felony DNRs to the county judges' DNRs, Democrats versus Republicans, or felony Democrats versus Republicans?
What do you mean?
In any way?
Wait, where did you go with this? You just totally switched subject
Yeah.
from Russia.
I did. Well, I mean, I did. I
wasn't
went to
ready. You didn't even
Russia,
give- you didn't
then I
even
went to
give us-
local. Do you see how, like...
You didn't even make a stop in Greenland along the way.
No, I
You
didn't.
just came
Well-
straight back. You didn't even stop at
I
Sarah
didn't.
Palin's house.
I didn't. We're just kind of talking here. What I'm trying to say is,
You got to give some segues, man.
I should. So, how about them tariffs?
Wait.
I mean, you're just all
Ask
over
your
the
first
place.
question. What's DNR? What are you talking about?
Okay, so do you find that I find that the Democrats and Republicans maybe a little bit, as far as judicial candidates, are a little bit more aligned on the felony side than they are on the misdemeanor side. I
Oh,
think
you mean just in terms of their overall political views, how
Yes.
they operate cases?
I do.
I mean, I can probably see a viable argument for that. I mean, to some degree, I don't know how you can be with the felony side. I don't know how you can take a position. It's much harder, I think, to go and say something like, well, I'm in favor of pretrial release.
Right, that's what I'm talking about.
On all felony cases. I mean, you can't do that.
Right.
You know? And
They all did.
Huh?
They all did.
They're not in favor of pretrial release.
Oh, right. Yeah, they all said can't do it.
well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I think just once you get up to felony court, I mean, the stakes are higher. You're talking about murders. You're talking about serious violent crime offenses. I mean, you've got real substantive issues that, I mean, I think those are issues for both parties. I don't think that's just a Republican issue of wanting to be tough on violent crimes. I mean, look, the DA's office came out today and said they're going to be step up enforcement. I mean, one of Kim Ogg's policies is to let the little stuff go and focus more on prosecuting violent offenders. And so, I mean, I'm not that. I agree with you on that. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that you really couldn't draw a distinction between the way a Democrat or a Republican operates on a felony bench. I think pretty much you would have to operate the same regardless of your political affiliation.
Yeah.
I'd go so far as to say is that the Democrats and Republicans on the felony side are pretty, going what you said, are pretty close to what a common sense approach is. You know, you can't, murders, capital murders, aggravated robberies, burglars, nobody, even the Dem is not going to say that they should be on a PR bond most of the time. I'd like to suspect. But on the misdemeanor side, I think it's coming to play a little bit more. What says you, Justin?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, yeah, you're right. I mean, I think that Republicans have done a good job of couching themselves as tough on crime, which must mean that the Democrats are weak on crime, and that's not the case. I haven't seen a judge, no matter what the party is, you know, when they're faced with somebody who's done wrong, especially against another person in an act of violence. I don't see when I'm sitting next to my client and we're getting the sentence. I don't see a different sentence from a Republican judge versus a Democratic judge.
No.
I haven't seen that.
No.
So I mean, I think what you're saying is correct.
Unless they've been tainted by some ragtag organizations.
Like who?
I didn't say that. That was I'm quoting things from the press. So, Judge McSpadden, let's talk about it.
Well, I don't know, because Judge McSpadden said that he thinks that some young black men might be getting bad advice from their parents, and your son's not black, and you're telling him.
Oh, my son gets bad advice from me every day. There is no doubt that my son gets horrible advice from me every day.
You know, but the more and more people we talk to says that Judge McSpadden has been not only the longest, one of the, if not the longest presiding judge on the district courts, but has also provided fair trials to everybody who's been in front of. Now, First Amendment free speech allows him to talk about whatever he wants to under the parameters of the law. The big question is for everyone does it affect his ability to be a fair and impartial judge? What says you?
Well, okay, I don't think that him saying those things affects his ability to be a fair and impartial judge. And getting a fair trial from a judge, I've heard that a lot. You're right, and I've been in Judge McSpadden's court multiple times, and I've always been treated respectfully and professionally in there. I actually like the way that he conducts his courtroom. That when he's doing a plea, he wants everything to stop, everybody to sit down. I think that's showing respect for the system, showing respect for the defendant that's in front of you, showing the respect for any victims that might be there or may not be there, but still exist, rather than everybody rushing around and not being quiet. And I do like those things, but I'd like to see if he's been fair on punishment. And I think the only way that you can do that, and I don't know if you can do this with someone who's been on the bench for 36 years, but is to go through all of the sentences that he's meted out and look at, compare them. And if that's even possible, if it is possible, it's going to be an enormous undertaking. But, so I don't think that his comments mean that he can't be unfair. I think that if his comments come from a place in his heart or his mind, that place might mean that he may not be able to be fair. But I'm not saying, I have not seen that or experienced an unfairness or a bias in my practicing in Judge McSpadden's court. That being said, the statements that he made, and I think we're specifically talking about statements he made in a Chronicle interview a few weeks ago, where he said, and I'm going to paraphrase it, that people who come into his felony courts, y'all talked about it some last week, but people who come into his felony courts are tainted people. And then he went on to talk about young black men seem to not have a respect for the system, and he thinks that respect is coming from, as he characterized it, ragtag organizations, and he specifically mentioned Black Lives Matter. And I think that is a very problematic, a reprehensible statement for a sitting judge to say. And I think that needs to be looked at.
So what? So you recuse him from every African American or black individual in his court?
I don't think that gets you that. No, to recuse a judge or disqualify a judge, you have to show that they have an actual particular, an actual particular bias, and that your client will not be able to get a fair trial in there,
or that they can't consider the full range of punishment, or something like that. I don't think that amounts to a legal bias. I mean, I just wonder.
Well, he has a legal bias. He's established a legal bias in potentially setting bonds or giving or granting of PR bonds.
Maybe.
And he may have a bias in punishment. And those are two things that are distinct and separate before and way before and then after any kind of trial. And what we've heard is that this part in the middle, he's very fair and unbiased on. But make no mistake, the stuff from the very beginning, the setting of bail, granting of a PR bond, if that's the case, that can have a lot of effect through the trial. And if we have to go to the jail and see our clients every single time to just ask them a simple question, they're not able to aid in their defense as well as somebody we can pick up the phone or shoot a text message to and say, hey, tell me about this.
I've never had an issue in his court.
I haven't either.
Ever?
That I know about.
Well, right.
Right?
But look, how many judges do you not know about?
That's fair. He did say something that we feel like a lot of other ones think.
Well, and the question is, why did he get on with the Chronicle and say this stuff?
Right.
I mean, that's what I just don't understand. Is I don't understand the purpose behind it. I mean, why he felt the need to make that statement.
Well, he's very smart politically.
Yeah.
He's been doing this for 36 years. He's not just smart politically. Judge McSpadden is a very smart jurist. He's very experienced, and he's very reasonable in the things that I've experienced from him. So I'm also scratching my head on why he was sitting down with a reporter, what they were talking about more. I mean, they were talking about kind of bail reform and things like that.
Yeah.
So I got to wonder if he's
maybe out of context, maybe?
No, I mean, look.
I don't know if it's out of context, but if he's kind of, I don't know if he's running again. So I don't know.
I know that there's a lot of individuals that are infuriated by his comments.
But there are probably just as many people who believe that his comments are 100% accurate.
Right. So, do you think it was a play to the times?
I don't know.
That's tough. I don't know. Judge, come on the show. Judge McSpadden, come on the show. We'd love to talk to you.
Or call in now. Set us straight. I mean, a lot of people at least have questions about this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's grounds to recuse him on anything. I really don't. I don't see where the basis to legally recuse him based upon what he said comes from. I mean, I can see both sides of the argument, frankly. I mean, I can see those who are appalled by what he said, but then I can also see those who say, look at some of the problems we've seen because of these kinds of organizations. Look at what some of them have done. Look at, so I mean, frankly, I kind of see both sides of the argument on this.
I don't know. I don't think I think we have I don't know. I'm 36 years old. I don't want to sound like I'm older, but I think we have a problem with just kind of general disrespect for not just the system, the criminal justice system, but for a lot of things.
Yes.
You turn to social media. What I do when I read these articles online is I scroll to the bottom in the comments and I just look at the comments, and most of them are they're people who are counting on anonymity. They're saying the most inflammatory things. And so I think that the disrespect that he's attributing to solely young black men who are following advice of organizations like Black Lives Matters, I think that's misplaced by putting that in those eggs in all that basket.
Totally. I don't think you can blame one organization or single out one organization because look, frankly, there's a lot of young lawyers and lawyers in our generation who disrespect the system, that don't dress like lawyers. They don't act like lawyers.
Of all different races and skin colors.
Correct.
You're talking about.
Correct.
Right.
I mean, I'm just talking about the whole. I'm not trying to single out a specific race. I'm just saying that you look at. I mean, there's some people who show up to court. They could be white, they could be black, they could be Mexican, they could be Asian, and they purport to be a lawyer. And I'm like, you're not acting like a lawyer.
You don't look like one.
You don't look like
act
a lawyer.
like one.
You show up to court in jeans
And Crocs.
and Crocs. You show up looking like this. You talk to the judge like this. I mean, you don't act like a lawyer should act. Yeah, that's a real good look.
Your Honor, I have a motion.
Somewhere.
I have a motion here, Judge. I mean, give me a break.
And a lot of people will probably say, "Oh, you're just old-fashioned," but I mean, there are some things, quite frankly, the practice of law being one of them. I'm okay with a little old-fashionedness in it. I'm okay with that. I'm okay.
What do you mean by? I mean, I am as well, but what do you mean by old-fashionedness?
like wearing a suit and a tie to go to court, to meet with clients.
But you're okay with women not wearing skirts and pantyhose? They can wear whatever they want as far as professional dress.
Right. I'm just saying in your decorum, the way you approach things, not, and being very proper in the way you address a court, being very proper in the way you address opposing counsel. I mean, there are a lot of people. You walk in to, and I will say this, it's even worse on the civil side than it is on the criminal side.
I can imagine.
But there are lawyers who you go in, to face a DA or any prosecutor anywhere, and there are some who just completely treat you with contempt, and they don't look at you as a fellow member of the bar, They look at you as like you're just a piece of scum who happens to have a bar card. And, but a lot of that is earned by the defense lawyer themselves too.
That may be in some cases.
But I just think that there has to be, you got to come back a little bit and maybe put a little more professionalism. And look, there's some judges who act completely unprofessional from the bench, and what they do. And so I think to some degree that is also problematic because that sets the tone for how people view the courts when they come in for jury duty, for, as a party, whether it's as a criminal defendant, a party in a divorce case, a party in a civil case. If you see the judge acting crazy and acting unprofessional, and then you see the lawyers acting crazy and unprofessional, it
doesn't command any respect.
No.
And I've been seeing this now, and I'm really going to be interested to see this next January if there is a big shift in the political makeup of the bench in Harris County. But with the one Democratic judge that we have in the county courts, I've heard prosecutors to my face dismiss him by just saying, "Oh, it's just the judge. That's why this was no probable cause was found, or this PR bond was granted. It's just that judge." And it's like, well, wait a second.
It's terrible.
Respect the fact that he's
terrible.
an elected official in Harris County, that the voters in Harris County said, we want that person to be on this bench, and the fact that he's a licensed attorney like you and I, and the fact that he's now a judge. Like, have some respect for that. I think we're just getting to a point where maybe it's always been this way, and I'm just getting to the age where I can now see the problems that are going on, but it sounds like what Jimmy's wanting, and I'm not too far off, is to make courts great again.
Hey, as LaHood said, drain the swamp, or was it Trump? You heard LaHood, the guy the district attorney down in San Antonio
who lost? Yes.
Yeah, he lost.
Abel Reyna.
Reyna lost too.
Reyna lost too.
Yeah.
What's gonna happen to all the Waco cases?
No, get
The
this.
biker cases.
Yeah. LaHood lost.
I bet a lot of
Reyna
them
lost. All the Mexicans are losing. I'll tell you, man.
I'm not touching that. But I do want to say that I also think that on the Black Lives Matter,
Kind of ironic for them to lose on the day on the day of the Alamo, right?
You know what? Damn, I'm with you, man. It's Twilight Zone that's going on here.
well, I just want to say, I think that it's important to say that I think that the judge is incorrect in asserting that Black Lives Matter teaches people to resist police. Because
Is that correct or incorrect?
I don't think that's correct. I don't think Black Lives Matter teaches people to resist police. In fact, I think one of their first slogans was "Hands up, don't shoot." And putting your hands up is like the least resisting thing you can do.
Yeah.
And it's what most police officers want you to do.
Well, and circling back, looping back our prior gun discussion, it's funny that the NRA and other people, the people who, who want to have guns to fight the government, are the same ones. You need to show respect for the government. Well,
Right.
wait a second.
Right.
Aren't we the ones who are supposed to be all crazy
Right.
if they come to take our weapons and take our freedom? We're ready to fight back, but we're supposed to show them respect.
But the interesting thing with Black Lives Matter is that I can understand the judge might be going off some of the media reports about it to make leave you with the impression that they're teaching you resist the police. But what we found out, and I'm going to loop this back into Russia, but what we found out through the Russian investigation was that one of the biggest Twitter accounts that was associated with the Black Lives Matter movement was Blacktivist, and that was run by some Russian guy and some guy in Russia. And how much of that was fueling what was ending up on the media?
Yeah.
And so I just think we all need to kind of step back, including Judge McSpadden, and before we start attributing these kinds of things to anybody, including us attributing things and motives and beliefs to Judge McSpadden, but also him attributing these to organizations, whether they're ragtag or not.
Right. I mean, there's just the possibilities for misinformation these days and campaigns of misinformation is just so overwhelming. I mean, the technology we have nowadays just allows people to launch these campaigns in such a fashion, and they spread like wildfire in such a short period of time.
That's okay, though. And I don't have a problem with whatever the meddling that Russia has done.
Spreading misinformation is okay?
Yes, because the problem is not the person spreading it. The problem is the person who's consuming it and just swallowing it hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah, but
that's why I don't mind a democratic society that's open and we're supposed to have an exchange of ideas, as long as you're not partitioning this group over here and this group 100 feet away and putting them behind fences and putting police officers, a certain number of police officers between them. If they can have it out, then we'll get to a solution of these things.
I mean, the problem is we're a society of suckers. That's
Yes,
the real issue.
that is the issue.
I mean,
That's the issue.
I would venture to say 85 to 90% of the people living in this country and the world are just suckers. They're flat out suckers. And you may disagree with me, fine. But there is ample proof to prove otherwise. I mean, look how many people still fall for Ponzi schemes to this day, okay? Look at all the idiots investing in cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. Like, really? Why are you still doing this? Like,
yeah.
Because 90% of the people in this world are suckers. And they'll believe anything. If you tell them the sky is green, they'll believe it. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I must go out and buy that Bitcoin tomorrow because it's going to make me $1 million. I mean, people are stupid. People are stupid. I mean,
and that's honestly the philosophical differences between. I don't want to use nations, but I'm going to use nations, but they're going to be representative of political philosophies of the United States and a country like Russia, is that Russians. Vladimir Putin specifically has said this. He thinks that democracies are run by fools.
Look at the people we voted in.
I agree with you. The potential for that is huge. If you have an uninformed public and voting electorate who are not informing, they're just reading Twitter, 160 words or what's now 320. They're just reading something and going, oh, I fully believe that, 100%. I will read things and go, oh my God, that resonates with me perfectly, but I will go and just check it somewhere else and see if it's true before I just swallow something hook, line, and sinker. That's what we have a responsibility to do.
When I see something, I always first believe it's an Onion story.
Right, me too. I always
We
go,
should all have
is that
that
the
attitude.
Onion? Is that what is that?
We should all have that attitude. We should read something and go, huh. I have a healthy dose of skepticism about that. Let me look into that myself.
Right.
And
I just automatically start from the default position that has to be written for the Onion.
Yeah.
I mean,
Is that the
bar
Onion?
none.
But but it goes back to we have a saying. I have a saying. F the facts or screw the facts. I don't care what the facts are, because most people, they already have their predisposed decisions or ideas of how things should be. and then filter anything else that you tell them through their own bias and opinions, and then eventually come to their own opinion. And I think we saw that in some of our elections this year, in some of the local elections. There were a lot of candidates who were highly, highly qualified who lost to people who, quite frankly, aren't, okay? I mean, qualified in the sense of in the name of the law, but as far as experience or weight, they had zero. And what's your take on that happening in the November elections?
That's what happens when people don't inform themselves of the votes. I mean, we saw that in County Criminal Court at Law Number 8 in the Republican primary, where we had a very experienced jurist who was unseated for reasons that were political, had nothing to do with him being a criminal judge. And we are now, the voters are going to have to choose between, frankly, two people who have relatively similar lengths of career, but one of them has a background that's going to be not good for anybody, no matter what your political background is. And, you know, that race was determined by the special interest in the parties, and that's a shame, because that's going to really hurt people in Harris County, citizens of Harris County.
Isn't it amazing how powerful a few people hold, called the slates in Harris County, have? It is amazing. It is phenomenal. If you're not backed by these people, you're going to lose.
Or other way around, if you are backed by these people, you are going to win.
Right, or going to win.
That's the scary part of it.
And I will go, I'm going to say on air, so I'm not misquoted or something, hey, congratulations, good luck, keep up the good fight. Dan, congratulations, awesome. But I can't wait. I think the race to watch, County Criminal Law Court Number 8, Franklin Bynum, Dan Simons. Do you have any idea how amazing that race is going to be? And Dan, you better come on the show that time, please. Franklin, we got a seat ready for you, because both of them, I admire both of their ability and willpower to just say whatever the heck they want to say and go. I think County Criminal Court of Law Number 8 is going to be one of the most hotly contested races that's coming up. I can't wait to see how that unfolds.
I'm with you, and I really hope that both candidates come on the show, and we're not looking for fireworks or a fight or blood to be spilled, but just have a discourse.
I'm looking for blood.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
They want blood, but from the booth where I'm safe from blood, I just want the public to hear people with differing viewpoints, and I have a pretty strong belief that Franklin Bynum and Dan Simons have differing viewpoints.
You don't think? You don't say.
I'm pretty sure they have pretty different opposing views on certain things. Come on here and tell people why you should vote for your position over another.
I'm still trying to sort out the different views that they might have.
You don't buy it?
That stuff's going to be
right down the middle
amazing.
together?
They're just so similar.
It's going to be amazing. I can't wait.
Well,
and
that's
Dan,
what we're going to do. We're going to
congrats, Franklin. Congrats.
But look, I mean, here's
Boom.
Here's the thing. I mean, I like Judge Carahan. I've never had an issue with him, but I don't have a problem with change.
I don't either.
Agreed.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Agreed.
look, I don't know. You can make the argument that it's great to have experience and put people in experience, but guess what? There was a time when he came on the bench, he didn't have judicial experience.
You're right. Mm-hmm. You're right.
Mm-hmm. You only get the experience by being there, and I know. And look, a lot of people are going to say that they're going to judge Dan by his past, and say that because of that he can't be a good judge. There's just absolutely no way. There are people who are going to say the same thing about Franklin. That because of what he's done in his past, or the fact that he lacks experience, or the kind of cases that he's handled. But here's the thing, both of them, okay? I think each in their own separate way, they get on the bench, you gain experience by being on the bench. And yeah, you may have one point of view and you get on there and think you're gonna do things a different way, but once you get on there, you don't know what you're gonna do until you actually put on the robe and get on the bench.
I agree with everything you said there, Jimmy. I'm not saying that Dan shouldn't have won. I'm only saying my problem was my response was into what JV asked about these slate tickets where people are told this is who we think you should vote for, and that is what crowns people the winner of these races. That's where my problem is. And that's the thing is we offered Dan to come on here, and I really hope that he does. I genuinely mean that. And it's not a setup or anything like that. I want people to hear from the candidates who they're going to be looking at a ballot and deciding who to pick from. And he didn't want to come on. Or he wasn't able to make it work or whatever it was. We couldn't get him on the show in that time. And that's something that I would like to see more candidates come on and talk to the voters so the voters can make informed decisions. They're not duped into something they got in their mailbox or something they see on Twitter or on any other websites.
I've known Franklin since I've been a lawyer. I've known Dan since he's been a lawyer. I've tried cases against Dan. I've worked with cases on Franklin. I can't wait to see what happens in the November ballot. Another big race. Wanagiri went down. Wanagiri.
Yeah.
He went down.
Yeah.
To a candidate who doesn't have much criminal law experience whatsoever. One of the theories behind it is that he went down because she was a woman, and there was a big woman push, and man versus woman on the D side, they're going to vote for the woman. Same thing happened with Tanya. But Tanya's been involved in it also too, and she's an incredible lawyer too. And I'm not saying that they won merely because they're women either. I'm not saying that. However, we saw that kind of trend, and from other women candidates, we're hearing that as well. That this is the year of women and minorities, kind of deal. But going back to Juan, he lost a big race too.
Yeah.
And we're potentially going to have some misdemeanor judges who never tried a criminal case in their life.
Yeah.
We have that on the felony bench now.
We have that on the Supreme Court as well.
That's true.
In the United States.
That's true.
Yeah, and that's a real problem. And I think it all comes back to, and I hope I'm not asking or having too high of expectations to ask that people who go into a voting booth to vote, and it should be everyone, that they go in there with some level of information that's correct, that they've looked into, they've read themselves, they're not just doing what somebody else told them to do, and they educate themselves to some degree on the issues and the voters.
I think you're having too high of an expectation.
Well, I'm not going to stop that. I'm not going to lose it. Otherwise, we're just going to keep doing what we've done. Nothing's going to change, and I do think change needs to happen. But let's make sure we're doing it with the right information.
I mean, look, I just think you have my wife, she's got a graduate degree. She went to law school. She couldn't tell you who on earth is running for any of the judicial positions. She couldn't. Why? She hadn't practiced law. She moved on to another business and started her own business outside the practice of law. And even when she was in the law, other than a couple civil judges when she was practicing civil law, she didn't know anybody on the criminal side. She didn't know anything about them. This is somebody who's educated, and she didn't want to learn.
I didn't say I needed people to be educated. I said they need to be informed.
She didn't want to be informed.
Well, was it Spider-Man? With great power comes great responsibility.
I'm just saying.
And power is voting for the people who are going to represent you in government.
I agree. I'm just saying. I just think that expectation is a little too high.
Send her email address. I'll send her some articles she can read.
Who else has been on the show that won or lost? Lori Botello lost.
Yeah, Lori did.
She ran a real good campaign. She lost.
She's very passionate about her positions on things. Mm-hmm. And, we offered to have her opponent come on. He couldn't make it work for scheduling reasons or whatever. And I hope that Aaron will consider coming on for the general. Let's see, who else? We had
Jason Long won.
Jason Long won, yep.
Over, we had
Brennan
Dunn on, yeah.
And Raul Rodriguez won.
Over Renfro.
Mm-hmm. And let's see, we started this whole thing off with an old college friend of mine, Chris Perry, came in from Austin. He was running for U.S. Congress. He came in top of his list, but he's got to have a runoff on May 11th, so that's another one. Gene Wu was running unopposed, I think.
Andrew Wright won.
Yeah, Andrew won.
Gus Aper?
Gus won, yep.
Gus. Coming up, there's
So many races.
gonna be a lot of races.
The Court 5 race, it was
Fleischer won.
Fleischer won that one.
Fleischer won.
Democrat side.
Democratic.
Aaron Saldana almost pulled a runoff.
Yeah, it came within like less than a point.
I asked the dude, I said, Aaron, why are you wearing a Dallas Cowboys shirt on your campaign like photo and stuff? Come on, man. Come on.
He would have sealed that deal, that extra point.
No, look,
Wear a Texan shirt.
not all Tejanos are Cowboys. I'm a Cowboy, but in my heart, I'm Stros. You know, I'm Houston. You can't. Well, I guess you can't be both. I'm gonna call Houston. But I thought to myself, wow, dude, you almost pulled something off. And through the chat house and the chat in the courtrooms and the courthouses it's all about the name. What your name was. What is it? A Mexican name? Is it a woman name? Is it a white name? Is it a black name? And I guess that's just politics.
Yeah. Who won the Democratic primary for the Senate, for U.S. Senate, up against Ted Cruz?
Beto.
What's his last name?
Beto?
O'Rourke.
O'Rourke.
Oh.
That's what I was like. He's just. Everybody's gonna be so confused they're gonna vote for him.
Yeah.
Beto O'Rourke.
Well, now Cruz is making fun of him or criticizing him for changing his name to sound more Hispanic. It's like, wait, you're Raphael.
Yeah. Where'd Ted come from?
Yeah.
Mr. Cruz.
Even Beto got a criminal rate. He got popped for a Berg, and they dumped that one. He has a couple, and a DWI, I think. Don't quote me on this, Beto, but he has some record too. Anyway.
He's gonna quote you on that in that lawsuit.
Yeah, quote. Hey, look, pull me up, dude. Where you want me? What do you want? What do you
At
want?
the end of the show, it says the views expressed in the show are not those of HCCLA. They're just those of the hosts.
Those of Julio Vela.
Yeah, they're all JVs.
Oh well. Hey.
We have about 30 seconds left.
What you want, man?
What you got to say in
What
your
you
last 30
want?
seconds? What does Justin have to say?
Well,
in
look,
the last 30 seconds, because
I really
you're in the honor seat tonight.
thank you. I do appreciate you guys letting me come on again and letting me have the last couple months of shows. I know I was a little bit difficult at times because I had a plan and I was inflexible on that, but most people in my life are used to me not being very flexible about things.
It's all water under the bridge.
Yeah, good, because it's past. So, but going forward, the next few months, I think we're going to shift back to y'all's current events discussions, and then hopefully late summer, fall, we're going to kick off another round of candidate shows and have people who are sitting for the general election come on.
But you're giving us the next week off for spring break, right?
That's what I've been told.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We have demanded that. we have demanded not to be forced labor next week. So.
Hey.
So Julio and I will be out on spring break next week, and we'll be back in 2 weeks, ladies and gentlemen. But that's all the time we have for tonight. So for my co-host Julio Vela and our guest, our producer Justin Harris, we wish y'all a good evening, a good weekend, and have a great next week if you're on spring break. And we'll be back the week following with another new episode of Reasonable Doubt. Good night, everybody.